We got this Seaside here. Energy and Electronics, Melissa Alvarez. You go through several phone calls a year, and your cell phone's working. It frequently drops calls, or has had static and other strange noises interfering with your conversation, especially when you're talking to someone who is also intuitive. You touch a light switch and the bulb glows, or you walk into a room and the lights dim. Street lights dim or blow when you're out near. The electrical system lies or alternating car have problems. Your watch batteries drain much sooner than normal. Your computer frequently goes on the fritz and doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It loses internet connection, freezes, or other problems that aren't related to technical difficulties or viruses. Does any of this sound familiar to you? These are all situations where your intuitive energy is affecting the electronics around you. They can be frustrating and expensive if you don't know how to control it. People with the abilities tend to have higher frequency levels and increased energy fields, which amplifies the electricity within them and can cause electrical malfunction. At other times, because intuitives use more energy, they pull from the electronics around them, thus draining batteries or short-circuiting phones. The term sliders, street lamp interference data exchange, is often associated with people who have this ability. It's named after the street phenomenon, which people with this ability can make streetlights turn on or off, but can affect any electrical devices as well. For example, sliders often can't wear watches for very long without them malfunctioning, regardless of the number of battery replacements made. They often have problems with static on phones and drop calls as well. They have problems with the magnetic strips on credit cards malfunctioning after they've carried them on in person. You may notice this happens more often when you're excited, angry, or emotionally wound tight. Because the body is made of electricity, people who have this ability are sent into overload with emotions run high. The electricity leaves your body and affects the electrical devices around you. People who have encountered electricity in the past are more affected than others. In my case, I was nearly electrocuted as a child. You had a similar incident, a near-death experience, or even been struck by lightning, and your major encounter with electricity can be a catalyst for this type of ability. How do you control it so you're not overspending a fortune or replacement electronics on light bulbs? One way you can control this ability is with white light, by putting a barrier of white light around you and giving it the intention of keeping you grounded and centered. Even when your energy is running high, you can avoid shorting out devices around you. It doesn't always work, and sometimes you'll forget until you notice that electronics aren't actually normal around you. It just reinforces barriers to stay grounded. Electronics can also be affected by spirits, especially when they're trying to get your attention. Spirits blow light bulbs around me all the time. If you have a barrier in place, but you're still experiencing difficulties with your electronics, take some time to sit quietly and ask the spirit or your guides if they have a message for you. When you're driving, you're already in tune with your intuitive abilities as you watch the road. However, there are several things you can do that will help you avoid danger and arrive at your destination safely without keeping you centered and grounded. Though it's not always possible, you should always avoid driving when you're mad, upset, crying, or sleepy. As you get in your car, use creative visualization to see yourself reaching your destination safe and sound. Many people use driving time to think about the things that go on in their lives. They may go over special situations, especially if they have a problem with something, and arrive at a course of action or solution to a problem. You can also use driving time when you're alone to think about your intuitive abilities, to consider how they work for you and explore how you enhance them. Driving isn't a time to do specific exercises because you should concentrate on the road. But it's a good time. Carla Cush, you remember Margaret Calisaldo, Kathleen Townsend driving, dude. With the Bobby Beefcakes and Chainsaw Massacre, dude. Thinking about them enables you to connect to them within you, and that alone will allow you to grow in your abilities. during your lightning, during your life, as you develop intuitive ability, you'll experience what I call lightning. This type of lightning is spiritual, not the natural phenomenon that occurs during heavy storms, and it propels you along your path. It happens during times when your intuitive awareness increases dramatically and quickly, when you finally click with how your ability works, or any time that you experience an extreme jump in spiritual growth. You often experience this special brand of lightning when you move from one level of understanding and enlightenment to the next. Lightning feels like its name. It's a surge of energy that flows through you, increasing your inner light as it strengthens and empowers you. You can feel your frequency, your internal personal vibration, elevating and may suddenly understand new knowledge about your abilities, life path, or soul essence. Lightning affects all parts of you. It is a rejoicing of your physical self to your spiritual self and everything in between, including your abilities and the way you think about the universe. It can start at the core and blast outward to your extremities, or it may feel as if it's coming through the top of your head at extreme speed, entering into your crown chakra, filling your body and spirit. Other times it's a slow beat that builds from within your core essence and is a hot fire scalding within you in minutes. Lightning can also be a sign from your guides. They send it to you and are cheering beside you when you suddenly understand and accept a spiritual truth. Just as data allows you to know that you're on the right path, lightning wakes you and makes you aware and attentive so that you can experience even more spiritual growth. It is so powerful and electrifying that it can be life-changing. You'll feel lighter and less stressed, and you'll know what you're achieving, what you set out to learn on the earthly path. When lightning happens, what's next? You keep on doing what you've been doing. You keep learning about your intuitive abilities and spiritual self. You learn more about the universe and the other side. Then, when you least expect it, you'll experience lightning again. It can strike you many, many times during the course of your life. I'm not really encoding the eon fluxes. You may even come to expect it if you've gone through a period of growth. Don't be disappointed if it doesn't come to you when you think it will. It comes when you've mastered something on your life path, when you've grown and developed spiritually, and you face and embrace the intuitive and spiritual part of your soul. Lightning is part of your true essence, a reminder of who you are and where you're going on in this lifetime. Third eye information. Your third eye is related to the sixth sense and the sixth chakra, which is also called the third eye chakra. It's located in the area between your eyebrows and your hairline. It comes to the forehead and going deep into the center of the brain at the pineal gland. It is thought to be in the center of the forehead or a little lower, right above the eyebrows. I tend to think of it as filling my entire forehead. Sometimes it feels like it encircles the top of my head. It allows me to see both ahead of me and behind me. When you connect to your third eye, you'll feel its exact location within you. Third eye is your important information to your intuitive abilities, because this is what you used to look at, the energy patterns around you, and on the other side, to view things while astral traveling and looking back on your physical body when you're having an OE. Physical manifestations of intuitive occurrences. Some intuitives are able to receive impressions as manifestations within their physical body. No, this is not possession. Sometimes an impression manifests as internal pain, cerebral injuries earlier in this chapter. Other times it manifests in physical markings on the body. The intuitive may not realize what is happening at first or give it any particular importance. Usually something that happens after the manifestation of the impression will bring you clarity about what happened. Let me give you an example of this happening to me. My grandmother had heart problems and would get blackened, bruised-looking marks on her arms that kind of go along with heart issues. One day, a spot on the side of my wrist got really itchy, and within moments, a dark red blister-looking thing popped up on my skin. It was relatively big, about the size of a nickel, so my first thought was that something had bit me, but it had happened while I was driving, so I wasn't completely sure that it was a bug bite. I was a strange looking mark, one that I hadn't had since I since I had a lot of dogs and horses, so I thought that maybe I hit my wrist on something at the farm and didn't realize it. Because I'm constantly getting scratched and bitten by things, which happens when you have animals. I didn't really think much about it at the time. 2 days later, my grandmother returned home to the other side. I was devastated, and it wasn't until that evening that I noticed the mark had completely disappeared, as if it never happened at all. It was in the moment that I knew I had somehow received the mark as a sign of her impending death. I didn't get mad at the time, and I didn't entirely know of her impending death. I didn't get to it at the time, and I don't entirely know how it happened, but when it vanished from my skin right after her death, I know it was somehow connected to her.